broadcasting tape delayed from the former Shea Stadium parking lot in Flushing Meadows. Is it Flushing Meadow?
Yeah.
Queens. The Sports
Flushing
Economy
Meadows.
Flushing Meadows,
Yeah.
Queens.
Yeah.
The Sports Economy Show is on. Today's show is called Bad Mets Contracts. Throughout the years. JP, being a Mets fan, as you can see, is going to be bringing up some bad Mets contracts. I don't know how far back he's going, but he can only go back to what, 1968?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
somewhere around there.
Somewhere
I can't remember what year the Mets actually began. I was not born then. I'm not that old.
Yeah,
but I should know the history.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Okay. I'm a fan, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I think they were before the '68 because they won the World Series in '69.
So
right.
they were.
I don't think they won after one.
66 was an expansion year in baseball.
That might have been.
It was probably 66.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for educating me, Billy.
Do what now?
Thanks for educating me on my own team. I should know that.
Not even a Mets fan. But anyway, we used to have a big rival with the Mets back in the 80s. But anyway.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's all over. All right, so today I'm going to start off with Bernie Madoff. He is the man who brought the Mets down to their knees. And we'll give it to JP, and he's going to go over some of the contracts that the Wilpons made and some other sort of things. So, and it's still going on because last year or year before?
2023.
That Verlander was on the team.
Yeah.
He's still getting paid.
All right. He's on the list.
He's on the list.
Let's see. He's on the list.
Here we go. Bernie Madoff, whose Ponzi scheme ruined so many people, including the former Mets owners, the Wilpons. Their involvement changed the trajectory of the franchise. Madoff burned thousands of investors, outfoxed regulators, and received a 150-year prison term for his efforts. 150 years. Most people don't live past 120. So,
especially by the time you're an adult.
Yeah, he was like 70 or something. So anyway.
Just in case.
We're
gonna give you 150.
You're never getting out. All right. So anyway, so these are just some of the people he got. Among the victims were director Steven Spielberg, actor Kevin Bacon, Nobel Peace Prize winner and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel. He took mercy on no one.
Kevin Bacon. He got Kevin Bacon?
He got Kevin Bacon. The real Kevin Bacon, not the fake Kevin Bacon. Hall of Fame pitcher Sandy Koufax and former Mets owners Fred Wilpon, Jeff Wilpon, and Saul Katz were major investors. The collapse of the Ponzi scheme drastically affected the finances of the Mets, forcing the Wilpons to take out a $65 million loan to meet payroll, including $25 million from other owners in baseball. You imagine going, I'm going to go to Steinbrenner. Hey, George.
Hey. You know I'm good for it, right?
You know I'm good for it.
I got you back. Eventually, I'll pay you back.
I bet you George gave him money with strings.
Well, I mean, at that point, when the Mets were asking for money, it's like your drunk uncle coming in there and being like, hey, I know I ain't paid you back the last 3 times I put money, but I'm good for it this time, for real, though.
Yeah, I want you to sign over a percentage of the team.
So
that's what Steinbrenner said. All right, anyway. Or he could have, went to the Nationals owner. He said he's a really wealthy man. So anyway, all right. The team.
Well, the Nationals weren't even around then, were they?
Yeah, the Nationals been around.
They were the Expos
since like 2006 or 7.
Right.
Yeah, all this happened like 2010, 12.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so here's some dates. I got some dates coming up. Anyway, the team previously negotiated complicated contracts that deferred the money, including Bobby Bonilla's infamous contract, in order to invest the money with Madoff. So they were pushing the contracts toward the end, much like the Dodgers, which that'll be an upcoming show. They have postponed over $1 billion in payroll. That could come back to bite them. Anyway, next, Bernie was part of the business plan for the Mets, a former employee told the New York Times in 2011. So Bernie's whole investment scheme was part of the Mets meeting payroll later on. That's a mess.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, the fallout shrank the team's payroll from 140 million in 2011 to 95 million in 2012 to 85 million in 2014. The salaries rose across the game as the salaries went up.
Mhm.
Their payroll was going down. The Wilpons slowly lost power and their financial stake in the team. And I got some information a little bit, if you want to talk about it, about how they actually lost the team. So, JP, that's
All right.
what went on. Now you're going to tell us about some
Old
of their
Bernie
other.
Madoff is so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do as a Mets fan. Anyone that is a Mets fan knows that none of us have faith in the ownership or the management of the New York Mets.
Even the new ownership?
Well, I mean, the new owner is like got more money than God. We still haven't won yet, though. But he's making good moves. He got Juan Soto. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
But as a Mets fan, there's two things you always do. One, you go, I feel like we made a good move. Two, something's going to go wrong. It's just the way it is.
Waiting for another shoe to drop? Right. Is that what you're doing?
It's just the way it is. Look, we did win. We're hanging on to 1986 like it was 5 years ago. But we did win a World Series. So I will say, and we won in 69. So, I mean, eventually we did get to the World Series 2 other times.
Yeah.
But so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to talk about my personal 5 worst contracts for the New York Mets. And I'm going to start with Bobby Bonilla. Yes. So everybody,
everybody knows about this contract.
Right. Do you know what July 1st is?
Is that the day he gets his check?
It's Bobby Bonilla Day.
Bobby Bonilla Day. I don't know how far out does his contract go.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. All right. So, poised by the whole, going to make a profit from Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme, they were going to basically defer contracts and just use the interest to pay those old contracts, and everything was going to work.
It's a great idea.
It is a great idea. But, of course, it didn't work. It backfired on them. So, in 2000, Bobby Bonilla was under contract with the Mets. Now, this was his second stint. He did play with them in the early 90s, and they did get to a playoffs, series.
Yeah.
But they weren't that successful. But he was a serviceable player. The second stint, close, in the late 90s, he was okay. He was still good. But the Mets decided to move on in 2000, and they decided they were going to release him. And then they still owed him $5.9 million because, this is not the NFL. Major League Baseball, you get your money when you get released. So,
yes.
The Mets decided, it's a good idea? We're not going to pay him the $5.9 million because in 2000, that was actually a decent chunk of money, right?
Yeah.
So they decided we're not going to pay him the $5.9 million that we owe him. We're going to defer the payments and use the Ponzi scheme, but we're going to defer it for 25 years.
25
so
years.
What they decided to do from 2011 to 2035.
2035.
Right. Bobby Bonilla.
That's 10 years from now.
Right. Bobby Bonilla gets $1.19 million every year on July 1st.
Wow. Bobby Bonilla Day.
He ain't played any baseball in forever. But every year, the Mets have to cut him a check for $1.19 million every year.
Wow.
So.
What a guy.
It is. I put him on the list because of that. But really, I don't blame Bobby Bonilla. He actually was a serviceable player. He wasn't the worst player in the world. But the Mets' ignorance, which even if you were going to use it for the investment, if you just look at it, it's like somebody taking out a personal loan and they're like, well, look, we'll give you $25,000, but you have to pay us, $600 a month for the next 5 years. Well, you know how much money you actually spend just
In interest
you know.
alone.
So that's basically what the Mets did, and they burned them. So number 4 on my list is a player that you're familiar with, Vince Coleman. You know, with the
Man who got
Cardinals.
run over by a tarp machine in 1985 or 6. 85.
Yeah, before, that was in the World Series,
85,
right?
yes.
Was it in the World Series?
Yes.
Yeah. So Vince Coleman in 1991 signed a contract 4 years, $12 million, which in 1991 was a good contract, right? When
Yep.
you think about the contracts now, they give that money to, Joe the ball boy.
Dude,
But
every time I come up with money, I was talking to somebody at work today. I said, that's what a middle reliever for the Pittsburgh Pirates
Right.
makes these days.
That's right. That's right. And he's one of the low paid
Yeah.
ones, So, I mean, look, that was a lot of money then. With the Cardinals, he played 6 seasons. He had 326 steals in 6 seasons.
That's why nobody could figure out how this man who can run so fast got run over by a tarp machine.
That's what I'm saying. The slow tarp machine being rolled out, and they got rolled over.
He needs the guy who threw out a firecracker at a press conference.
I'm getting to that. Right? So, with the Mets, he was notorious with the Mets. He was often injured. He was suspended in 1992 for fighting with his manager. And then, of course, in 1993, he threw the firecracker in the parking lot at the Dodger fans at Dodger Stadium. And then a few of them were injured.
Oh, that's what it was. It wasn't actually
Right.
in a press
Causing
conference. Okay.
ruckus. Right? Because,
Dodger fans are mean.
Because
man.
when you hear firecrackers
in LA,
you're not thinking of firecrackers, right? Just to put it like that. So that was number 4. Number 3 is somebody that a lot of people wouldn't even probably know, Kaz Matsui. Kaz Matsui came from Japan. Everybody thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. We had Jose Reyes, who was a up and coming prospect and maybe one of the better Mets in the last 20 years. But he had only been there about a year and a half. And Kaz Matsui came in there and they were like, you know what? He's great. We're gonna let him replace Reyes. He's gonna go to second. Reyes is gonna move to second. Everything's gonna be great. Kaz Matsui, he was awful. Errors left and right. They eventually had to move Reyes back to shortstop and move Matsui to second. He was awful. He was a bum. He signed a 4-year, $12 million. No, he signed a 3-year, $20 million contract. Before the 3rd year, the Mets ended up trading him to Colorado. They said, get out of here.
They paid him to leave.
They paid him to leave. You had to go. Somebody needs to take you away from this. This is just awful. Number 2, Justin Verlander. That's the way his wife said it in the commercial.
That's how she said
Yeah.
it. Justin Verlander.
Justin Verlander. If you don't know, he's married to a model. Look her up. She's hot. So anyway, Justin Verlander in 2023 signed a 2-year, $87 million contract.
Man, that's good work if you can get it.
For a man that's over 40 years
old. Was that 41, 42 years old?
Well, because he had the serious injury in 2021, rehabbed, came back in 2022 and looked like all-world Justin Verlander, Hall of Famer Justin Verlander. And what did he do?
Plays what?
The Astros do the smart thing, and they're like, we're not going to give you another contract because we believe you're over the age and you already had a major injury. So we're going to do the smart thing and let you go. And who comes around? The Mets.
Swooped up.
The Mets
before anybody else could sign him.
Right. The Mets always do this. Signed him, opening day. He's supposed to start on opening day.
Yeah.
He comes up with a muscle strain injury before the game even begins. Scratched in the game. Ended up playing 6 games for the Mets in 2023. And before he got he pitched in 6 games. And before he got going, they were like, you know what? We're not winning anyway. So we're going to trade you back to Houston.
Send him back to where he came from. And they gave him all the money to leave.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Some million.
Yeah, Houston was like, yeah, we'll take him. We ain't got to pay all the money. Yeah, we'll take him. That's typical Mets right there.
They went to the World Series with him.
What, Astros?
Yeah, that year
Oh,
they went
yeah.
to the World Series. They lost to Texas, but they went to the
Yeah,
World Series.
Astros. He plays well for Look, a common theme, if you are not a Mets fan, is when players leave the Mets, they always go to a better situation and they always do well. A lot of them, Carlos
You're
Beltran,
very jaded, aren't you?
Carlos Beltran going to St. Louis, can't stay on the field when he's with the Mets, goes to St. Louis, plays almost every damn game,
Has
gets
3
into
good
the
years
World
in St.
Series.
Louis.
Yeah, it looks great. Looks fantastic. But my number one worst contract for the Mets is Jason Bay.
Jason Bay.
For those of y'all who don't know, you probably were like, who the hell is Jason Bay? Well, Jason Bay.
Didn't he start out in Pittsburgh?
He did. He had a few good years with Pittsburgh, but he was one of those, hey, that's a good little player, Jason Bay. He's got some talent, right? So he ends up, Pittsburgh does like they usually do. They're like, oh, his contract's about to be over in 2 years.
Yankees farm team, by the way.
Right, yeah. We're going to trade him to Boston. So he gets to Boston with the short distance in left field.
Yeah.
And the wall, and he is killing it. He's either hitting homers or he's smacking the ball against the wall. His numbers jump up tremendously, and everybody knows it's because he's playing in Boston. So what does Boston do? They go, he's all-star, he's killing it. Boston's like, you know what? We realize that you're playing well in Boston, but I tell you what we're not going to do. We're not going to give you a big contract.
Was he a free agent?
Yeah.
They let him go as a free agent. They wouldn't resign him.
Right.
Okay.
And so along comes the Mets. Every Met fan literally saw when they announced that Boston was not going to re-sign Jason Bay.
Yeah.
Everyone knew we were going to sign Jason Bay. So what they did was they signed him in 2009 to a 4-year, $66 million deal.
Guaranteed.
Yep. And he ended up playing 3 of the seasons with the Mets. He batted .234.
Well, in today's game, that's a great batting average.
He batted .234 in the 3 seasons, and he only had 26 homers.
That's not good.
26 homers in 3 seasons for the guy that was supposed to be your main bat in the lineup. And for the 4th season, the Mets were like, get out of here, you suck. We got to get rid of you.
It's hard to hit in that big park, man.
Well, yeah.
Give him a break.
Well, you would say that, right?
Yeah.
And the Mets fans would say that.
Didn't they move the wall in?
They did move the wall in, right? But if you notice, in all the players that I mentioned, there's a common theme. The Mets signed them. The Mets fans know that you're not supposed to sign these guys, and they do anyway. Jason Bay was obvious. Don't sign Jason Bay. You got a big ballpark. He's not going to be playing in Boston. He's not going to put up those numbers in New York. So what do the Mets do? We're going to sign him. We're going to give him big money. It's part of being a Mets fan. And that's all I got for you today.
Hey, a lot of teams have these problems, but the Mets seem to have more of them. Here's something.
Yeah.
With your current Mets owner.
Yeah.
When he signed Jason Verlander and Max Scherzer to all this money.
Yeah.
Just because you have a lot of money and you know how to make a lot of money doesn't mean you have any idea how to manage a sports franchise.
Right.
There's a guy in Dallas. Same deal.
Right.
Said just because you have all this money doesn't mean you have any clue what talent is.
And here's the thing. Don't ignore the signs. Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, neither one of them are younger than 38 years old.
Look, if you're looking for a starting pitcher, don't go to 35.
Right.
Don't do
If they're
it.
38 or older,
Don't do it.
maybe you shouldn't give them big money. Just saying. Are the other teams doing it? No?
No.
So why should you be doing that? What?
Because we got money.
It's part of being a Mets fan. We over here.
Well,
Bill
I'm
over
so
here,
sorry for
Bill
you.
over here as a Cardinal fan.
Yeah, you ought to hear what they got going this year. Jason Matz is predicted to be one of their starting pitchers. He hasn't finished a season on the active roster without being hurt, I think.
Wait, are you talking about Steven Matz?
I'm sorry, Steven Matz. Yes, he's like one of their 3rd or 4th starting pitcher projected this year.
I'll be honest with you.
He hasn't finished the
I thought
season.
Steven Matz retired in 2015.
No, the St. Louis Cardinals would still be paying him. I don't know what they're paying him, but I'm sure it's more than I make.
But look, you know, the thing about the Cardinals is y'all are not bad long. You know, you're more successful.
They don't. Yeah, they don't. The Cardinals do not waste money. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
So
I'm a Steelers fan, and I feel that way in football.
Yeah.
You know,
the Steelers don't waste money.
They'll be back. You know, Cardinals, y'all will be back. The Mets, on the other hand, not so sure.
All right. Is that all we got for today?
I think that's it.
That's it. So remember, folks, avoid Ponzi schemes at all costs.
That's a good idea.
Remember, folks, like and subscribe because we need $1 gazillion so we can help the Wilpons out because they're broke.
You know.
So long, everybody.
So long, everybody.